I want to tell you about the summer I thought I was being a clever gardener. I had just planted a small patch of mint along the back edge of my raised bed. Spearmint. For iced tea, for cooking, for keeping bugs away. It smelled absolutely wonderful. And it looked perfectly tidy that first season. I remember standing there with my hands on my hips, feeling genuinely proud of myself. A smart, useful, fragrant little plant in exactly the right spot. 3 years later, I spent 2 full weekends on my hands and knees trying to dig that mint out of my raised bed, out of the lawn, and out of the garden border on the other side of the yard where I did not even know it had traveled. That was lesson number one of many. I have been gardening for going on 30 years now, and I want to be honest with you today in a way that your local garden center never will be. Because here is something I have learned after decades of working in this yard. The nursery profits when you make mistakes. Every plant that runs wild and has to be removed. Every vine that damages your fence. Every ground cover that takes over your beds and kills the plants around it. Nobody behind that counter is going to pull you aside and say, "Now wait a moment, dear. Let me tell you what year 3 looks like before you put that in your cart." They are simply not going to do it. So today I am going to do it for them. 9 plants, 9 real mistakes from my own yard. And for every single one, I'm going to give you a safer alternative that does the job without the consequences. If you are new here, welcome to the Gardening Grandma. Hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss a single video. And drop your U.S. state or your USDA hardiness zone in the comments while you are thinking about it. I read every single one, and it helps me make sure what I put out every week actually applies where you live. Now, let us get into it. Number 1, mint. I already told you about my mint, but I want to make sure you understand the specific mechanism that makes it so difficult, because it is not just that mint spreads, mint colonizes. It uses 2 systems at once. Above the ground, it sends out lateral runners that root at every single point they touch the soil. Below the ground, it is driving a network of horizontal rhizomes in every direction you cannot see. And here is the part that will stay with you. If you pull the top growth and leave even a thumbnail-sized fragment of rhizome in the soil, that fragment will grow into an entirely new plant. Every time you pull mint, you risk spreading mint further. My rule now is simple. If you want mint, grow it in a container with drainage holes. Set that container on a hard surface like concrete or pavers, and never let the runners touch bare earth. Not even once. The safe alternative for a culinary herb in a bed is lemon balm. It self-seeds a little, but you can pull the seedlings without triggering an underground war. Number 2, morning glory. Morning glory feels like pure joy in June. The flowers are stunning, and I planted it for 3 years running, thinking it was just a cheerful annual vine. What I did not understand is that morning glory is a prolific self-seeder at a scale that is hard to believe. One mature plant can drop hundreds of seeds per season. Those seeds can lie dormant in your soil for years, not one season, years. I have read documented cases of morning glory seeds germinating after sitting in the ground for over a decade. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. You are not just fighting a plant. You are fighting a seed bank. You buried yourself. If you love the look, grow black-eyed Susan vine instead. It climbs beautifully, it blooms all season, and it goes away when you want it to. That is the trade. Number 3, Jerusalem artichokes. Everything you have read about sunchokes is true. They are productive, easy to grow, and wonderful for pollinators. The problem is the harvest. Every single tuber has to come out of the ground, and that is nearly impossible to guarantee. Any fragment the size of a marble that stays in the soil over winter will sprout the following spring. By year 3, what started as a small planting becomes a biological fortress 8 to 10 feet tall, casting enough shade to suppress everything growing around it. I planted mine along a fence line thinking I would have a productive living screen. Within 2 seasons, it had shaded out an adjacent vegetable bed I had been building for years. My rule now is this: if you genuinely want to grow them, use a dedicated raised bed with solid bottom barriers and a commitment to aggressive annual harvest. Otherwise, grow annual sunflowers for the pollinators and the beauty without the underground invasion. Number 4, Chinese wisteria. I want to be careful here because I understand completely why people plant wisteria. In bloom, it is one of the most breathtaking things you will ever see in a garden. Cascading purple flower clusters, intoxicating fragrance, and a presence that makes your whole yard look like something out of a magazine. I understood exactly why I planted it. What the tag did not tell me is what was coming. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Chinese wisteria is a structural predator. Those woody vines grow to 60 feet at maturity, and they do not wind loosely around supports. They constrict. They wrap around fence posts and pergola members with a grip that tightens as the vine thickens over the years. I have seen wisteria vines large enough that they girdled and killed mature hardwood trees on properties where they were left unchecked for a decade. Professional removal costs can run from $500 to over $2,000, depending on how established it is. The safe alternative is American native wisteria, specifically the cultivar Amethyst Falls. It blooms beautifully, stays manageable, and will not eat your yard or your fence alive. Hardy in zones 5 through 9, that is the plant you want. Number 5, trumpet vine. Serious gardeners who have dealt with this plant long enough call it hell vine. I understand why now, though I certainly did not when I planted it on a section of cedar fence, thinking I had solved 2 problems at once: privacy and a hummingbird magnet. That was year 1. Here's what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Trumpet vine uses small root structures to grip surfaces, and they do not just cling. They bore in. Painted wood, brick, stucco, siding, mortar joints, and removing them typically takes the surface material with them. Beyond the surface damage, the underground runners can travel 15 to 20 feet from the original plant and send up new vines in your lawn, your flower beds, and potentially your neighbor's yard. The safe alternative is coral honeysuckle, specifically the cultivar Major Wheeler. It is native to the eastern United States, feeds hummingbirds all season long, and will not tear your fence or your siding apart. Make that trade. I want to stop for a moment, my dear, and ask you to do something. If you are still watching and you have not subscribed yet, please do that right now. I put a new video out every single week, and the only way YouTube consistently shows it to you is if you are subscribed. Hit that button and drop your US state in the comments while you are at it. Now let us keep going. Number 6, chameleon plant. This is the one sold at garden centers across the country as a beautiful, low-maintenance ground cover for shady, wet areas where nothing else will grow. The variegated leaves are genuinely stunning on a plant tag: green, red, yellow, and cream. And it fills a real need. Deep shade with wet soil kills most plants. Chameleon plant thrives in it. That is exactly why it has been sold so enthusiastically for so long. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The underground rhizomes are extraordinarily fragile and extraordinarily aggressive at the same time. When you try to pull it, those rhizomes snap into tiny pieces, and every fragment that stays in the soil regenerates into a new plant. Pulling chameleon plant does not remove it, it multiplies it. You are doing the plant's propagation work for it every time you pull. When you disturb it, it releases a sharp, fish-like odor you will not forget. I say that not to be dramatic, but because that smell became the permanent memory of one of my most frustrating gardening mistakes. The safe alternative for deep shade and moisture is wild ginger. Beautiful, low-growing, well-behaved, and genuinely supportive of native insects. It stays where you put it. Number 7, orange daylily. I want to be gentle here because I know some of you have real affection for this plant. The orange daylily has been passed down through generations of American gardeners. It is cheerful and resilient in a way that feels almost comforting. But here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. There is a fundamental difference between the classic orange roadside daylily and modern clumping cultivars, and that difference matters enormously for how your garden behaves over time. The orange daylily spreads through underground rhizomes without reservation. The root mat it develops over time becomes so dense that it prevents native seeds from germinating anywhere beneath it. Ecologists call what this creates a biological desert, not just crowded, biologically silent underneath. The fix is simple, and it does not require giving up daylilies altogether. Modern clumping cultivars like Stella de Oro, Happy Returns, and Rosy Returns are beautiful, long-blooming, repeat-flowering plants that stay exactly where you plant them. All are hardy in zones 3 through 9. Buy those. Enjoy them. Just stop planting the orange roadside variety and calling it a garden plant. Number 8, English ivy. English ivy is sold as the solution for difficult areas. Steep slopes, deep shade under trees, dry spots where grass will not grow. I understand the appeal because it does cover those areas fast. What happens afterward is where the conversation gets serious. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. English ivy operates in 2 distinct phases. In its juvenile ground-creeping phase, it forms a dense mat that blocks light and eliminates native seedlings beneath it, but once it reaches a vertical surface, a tree trunk, a fence post, a wall, it transitions into its adult form, and in its adult form it produces berries. Those berries are eaten by birds. Those birds carry the seeds into surrounding woodlands far beyond your yard. English ivy exports its damage into wild ecosystems through bird dispersal, and once it is mature and fruiting, there is nothing you can do to stop that process. The safe alternatives are native pachyandra for shade in the east, creeping phlox for banks with a little light, and wild ginger for deep shade. They are available, they are beautiful, and they will not become a regional problem. Number 9, running bamboo. Running bamboo generates the most extreme stories and the most expensive removal bills of anything on this list. And I want to make sure you understand the mechanism before I tell you the cost. Running bamboo spreads through horizontal underground rhizomes that can travel several meters in a single growing season, and they are not deterred by most obstacles. These rhizomes have been documented penetrating asphalt driveways, growing under concrete slab foundations, cracking mortar joints in brick walls, and coming up in neighboring yards. The legal liability for bamboo that crosses a property line is a real and growing area of landscape law, particularly in states like Connecticut, New Jersey, Oregon, and California. Professional removal of an established grove costs between $1,500 and $5,000, and it is still not a guarantee without follow-up monitoring over multiple seasons afterward. My rule now is this: if you want a tall privacy screen and that is what drew you to bamboo in the first place, plant clumping bamboo instead. The varieties I recommend grow in tidy, expanding clumps, reach 6 to 10 feet tall, provide real privacy, and will never send a rhizome under your neighbor's driveway or into your foundation. Do that math slowly. $2,500 to remove a running bamboo grove versus $150 worth of clumping bamboo that never causes a single additional dollar of damage. The choice is not complicated. 9 plants, my dear. 9 real mistakes: mint, morning glory, Jerusalem artichokes, Chinese wisteria, trumpet vine, chameleon plant, orange daylily, English ivy, and running bamboo. For every single one of them, a safer alternative exists that does the same job without the damage. The information you just watched is the kind of thing that should have been on the label at the garden center. It was not because that information does not help them sell more plants. This channel is here because gardeners deserve honest, specific advice from someone who has made these mistakes in a real yard and is willing to tell you exactly what happened. Drop a comment below and tell me 2 things. What state are you gardening in? And which plant on this list surprised you the most? Or which one do you already regret planting? Your experience in those comments is a real warning to the next gardener who finds this video and scrolls down looking for honest answers. If you are not subscribed yet, do it now. Free, weekly, no nonsense, no sponsored plant recommendations. Just what works, what does not, and what I wish someone had told me 30 years ago. Until next time, happy gardening. Take care of yourselves and take care of those beautiful gardens of yours.